Hi, my name is Amy Williams and you are with Crafting with Amy. I am so glad you are here today and I'm so excited to show you this technique. This is my first YouTube video, so please bear with me as I try to do my very best. I promise they'll get better. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I have been a demonstrator this time for about a year and a half. I was previously a demonstrator about 20 years ago and have been making cards ever since. I stopped because I went back to teaching full-time and I just couldn't do everything. Now that my kids are grown, I've moved in. I'm a librarian now, which I love, and have just missed that creative side. So this has really helped me move into that creative side. So I'm really excited to do that. I am excited about having a YouTube channel. I do classes in my home. If you live in the McKinney, Texas area, give me a shout and I'd love to have you join us. But for now, if you can't, there's YouTube, which they certainly didn't have 20 years ago. So today what we're gonna do is a technique of watercolor with glycerin and using Reinkers. I love to watercolor. I'm not an artist and I don't pretend to be, but I feel like when you use the Reinkers with a water painter and some glycerin, it gives you that neat effect, and you don't have to be an artist. It gives you a beautiful effect. The glycerin makes it a little more forgiving and gives you a little more options and time when you're doing it, and I'll show you that when we do it. So I am going to flip the camera and we're gonna get started. Here we go. All right. So here's the project that we're gonna do today. This right here is all watercolored, and we're gonna do that in just a moment. So the stamp set that we're using today is called Fresh Cut Flowers. It is in the annual catalog. We have two catalogs. We have an annual catalog that lasts a year, and then we also have a mini catalog that is a holiday. Well, it's not holiday, it's a mini catalog. It lasts for 6 months, and this one goes from June to December. So, but this stamp set that I'm currently using is in the annual catalog, but it does have a little bit of a perk. So right now, Stampin' Up! Is doing a Perfect Partners promotion that they have added the die cuts to go with about 6 different stamp sets. So these are 2 of them. This is the one we're using today, and these are the die cuts that you can get with a bundle if you choose to buy the die cuts, and you can get them at a bundle at 10% off. You can buy them separately or together. The dies will only be available until September 30th. This stamp set is in the annual catalog, so it's good until May. This one is in our mini catalog, so it is good until December. So that's the Apple Harvest. Then there's some other ones: the Adorable Pigs, the Tree Trimming, the Waterfall Canyon, and then the Yeti to Party, which I think is just adorable. So these are some other ones that you can purchase. Again, the stamp sets are in the catalogs. The die cuts are only good until the end of the month. If you are interested in purchasing, you are welcome to go to my website, amywilliams.stampinup.net. If you do choose to buy a purchase, you can use this host code right here. If you are spending more than $150, do not use the host code. Become a host yourself and get the benefits just for you. All right, on to what we're going to do today with this lovely stamp set. We're going to be using this Fresh Cut Flowers. It only has four pieces on it, and it doesn't have sentiments, but I really do think this is such a lovely image that I am excited to use it. So let me show you how we're gonna get started with that. All right. The first thing we're gonna do is make sure that we have the paper. Where did the paper go? Oh, right here. All right, so the paper that we're going to be using is shimmery white cardstock. When you're doing any kind of watercoloring, you either want to use a shimmery white or a watercolor paper. If you use basic white, it can pill the water, it can kind of make the water, make the paper pill, and you certainly don't want that. All right, so we are going to get to stamping, and my stamp, oh, it's right in front of me. So for this, we're going to be using the Stays On ink. And the reason we want to use Stays On is because it won't bleed. If we use Memento, another black ink we have, that can bleed when you watercolor. So you do want to use the Stays On. And I'm using, I'm making this piece of paper is larger than what I'm going to need, but I wanted to have a little bit of extra room for when we die cut in a few minutes. The Stays On comes with this plastic. Don't lose that, don't get rid of it. You're gonna keep that, put that in right in here, and you are to put it back on so it doesn't dry out. All right, so I'm just gonna ink this up. And I don't know why every time I use Stays On, I always ink it like this. Every other pad, I would put the image to the pad, but I don't know, there's something with Stays On in my brain, and that's how I do it. Okay, so here we go. I've got that all inked up, and I'm going to stamp that right on here. It doesn't matter if it's perfect because we are going to be cutting it. I may have touched down, so we will just see. Nope, I didn't. Yep, I did right there. So we're going to use the back, and we're going to try that again because I don't like that. Okay, try that again. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice little push. And we're gonna pull that up. There we go. That's a nice little image. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off real quick. I will say Stays On can stain your ink pad. There is Stays On cleaner, but it's in the other room and I don't wanna, or it's in the other drawer and I kind of forgot to get it, so it's not a big deal. It doesn't hurt the stamp pad, it just stains it a bit. All right, so here's our image, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this big stamp pad or stamping block right here to use as kind of my palette. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get vegetable glycerin. You can get this, you know, Walmart, drugstore, CVS, Amazon, anywhere. It's pretty inexpensive. It's just vegetable glycerin. You can also use it on your skin too. All right, so I'm gonna add just a little bit, and truly you don't need a lot. And I really think that it makes your re-inkers and your ink go farther than it normally would. So the first one I'm gonna add is Granny Apple Green, and I'm just gonna do a little dot of that here. I don't need much of that. I'm going to add a very small bit of Pear Pizzazz. That's the second color I'm gonna put on my palette. And you can see I'm just doing small little dots. The next one is gonna be Flirty Flamingo. Put a dot of that. And then a little bit of Melon Mambo, which I'm beginning to like more and more the more I use it, believe it or not. I'm more of a soft pastel-y kind of person, but I really like that one. The last one I'm going to use for the background is Pool Party. And this one I could use, I think I could use Pool Party on every single card I make because I absolutely love it. All right, so here we go. Here is our canvas. So what I'm going to use for this are our watercolor painters. And our watercolor painters come in a set of 3 with 3 different sizes. So the first one you get is this flat brush. And if you're doing big things, you have nice strokes with that. So I always try to go in a little bit and put that on carefully. The next one is a medium-sized brush. You can see that right there. And then the last one is the one we're going to use today, is the smallest brush. And we're going to use that one here. And what you do is you twist it off like this, and then you add your water into the reservoir and then twist it back on. Now, most people say that these go on backwards. I'm a lefty, so I think it goes on just exactly how it should. So then what you do is it's got a little thing right here that it says push So if you're a righty, it works pretty well. If you're a lefty, it's going to be upside down. So you're going to push on that, and that's going to bring the water out a little bit. So you can see that the water comes out, and then you can, if you don't have glycerin, you just use that little bit of water, add it to your ink, and then go to town. As I say, I like the glycerin because it's going to give me a little bit more, it's going to move on the paper a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the glycerin to the ink, because I did learn the hard way that if you don't do the ink to the glycerin, because then you've got that color ink there. So anyway, I'm just going to get a dab of glycerin, and I'm going to add that to it. And you can automatically see where you got a little bit, it goes farther. Look at that. So then I'm going to go over here to my leaves, and I'm going to kind of do that. All right, and so if I think, oh gosh, that's a little too dark, I don't want it that dark, you can just pull it up and bring it somewhere else. You know, if I think, oh, I don't want it dark. And that's the glycerin. It doesn't dry that quickly. And so it gives you that, it gives you just a little more freedom to play with it just a little bit. And I really like that, because you know, if you're heavy-handed, like I feel like that's a little dark. So I'm gonna see if I can pull some of it off, and I'm gonna bring it over here. And remember, it's watercolor, so watercolor doesn't have to be perfect. But that's what I tell myself. It may have to be perfect, but I don't think so. I think you can do whatever you want, because it's your card and your creativity. I'm just going to pull that there, and you can kind of see that you can move that color around quite a bit with that glycerin, right? All right, let's get a little bit more. And I'm using Pear Pizzazz right now, because it's the lighter of those two greens. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back in. Now I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm going to add a little bit of water. You can see how that water's coming down. And then I'm just going to take it like this, and I'm going to get all that off. I always put it on a towel as well. I typically, this is my watercolor towel, so I'll just put that right there, so you can also just put it on the towel. So I'm gonna add a little glycerin, and this is the Granny Apple Green, which is a little bit darker. So I'm gonna make sure I don't have too much. So I'm gonna kind of do that. And then what I do when I want to add a little bit of dimension, I'm just gonna go where they've put lines, because in my eyes, that's where the dimension goes, is where the lines are, right? I could be wrong, but I think that's what they wanted me to do, so that's what I do. I think the designers knew what they were doing. They know that I am not an artist, but they are, so they gave me a little hint, a little cheat sheet. So, and then if I wanted to go back in, I could always go back in and add a little bit more. All right, so I think that's good. I think I'm good with the green, so I'm gonna get rid of that. All right, add a little bit of water, get that all off. Okay, because I'm gonna go into pink next. I wanna get all that, green off, all right? So I'm gonna go into Flirty Flamingo next, add that glycerin. And see, I mean, these are tiny dots of ink that I'm using, and quite honestly, I can probably do 2 or 3 cards with just this much. So I'm gonna dab a little off. Now I'm gonna start in the middle, because I know I'm gonna go darker with that anyway. So if it is darker than I wanted, I'm gonna start there, and then I'm gonna kind of pull around to the edges. And I'm just gonna move that ink. I'm gonna add a little water to that. Pull that ink around, and you can see that I have that color that I can move where I want it, kind of. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna pull that around. If I want this leaf darker, I can make that a little bit darker. Okay, the more the dimension, the better. So I think that you can kind of add to it as you want. Woo, all right, so there's that one. And now let's do number 3 over here. And you can see he's still a little wet. He's got some of that little, maybe I should say she, I don't know. I tend to talk to things, so I have to give them personality. They can be a boy or a girl. All right, so here we go. I've got that all done. All right, so that looks good to me. Again, see how that glycerin gives you just a little more time to move that ink around just a little bit, okay? So then I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna clean it off. Then I'm going to get another daub of glycerin and add it to the Melon Mambo. I want to be careful. I don't want too much on there. I want to be really careful on that one because I'm going to do this in the center. I just want to give that center a little bit of excitement in the middle. Just give that flower a little bit extra in the middle. So that is all I'm going to do with that. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to do these little flowers. Let me add a little ink to those. And I forgot these little leaves right there. So I'm gonna add a little bit of green right there. Oh yeah, can't forget that, right? Okay, so there is the flowers, and I like that. That looks very pretty, but to me, this is missing something. It's missing kind of a background. And so I'm gonna do the background in blue. Oh, I forgot to get the glycerin. Add a little glycerin. All right, I want this to go far. So I'm gonna really add that in. And then I'm just gonna kind of take it like this. And I'm not trying to get it completely filled in. I'm not coloring every single bit. I don't need it to be completely colored, but I just want the blue kind of around like it's this wispy color, right? And I'm gonna even go inside, but I'm trying not to get too close to everything. Since it's still wet, it will bleed. So we wanna be a little bit careful about that. If it was dry, it wouldn't bleed, but I might have to add a little bit of blue. See if I can make this work, right? I want to get it in there so that it looks, so you can see it, but I don't want to get too close to the image. And I'm not going all the way to the edge because I'm going to die cut this image in a little bit. So I know that I'm not going to need all that. And quite honestly, if I was going to keep this whole page and I wasn't going to die cut, I like this rugged little edge there. So I think that's pretty. I think that's very pretty. And you can see now I've used all the blue on this, but I only did a tiny dot every inker. So for me, I feel like I've kind of won. That was kind of a lottery right there. And I still have some that I could move around, show, just gives you a little more flexibility. So that looks nice to me. So I'm gonna clean my brush off and I'm gonna set my rag aside and I'm gonna set my palette aside. Now this, I'm gonna let this dry and I'm gonna do a little bit, we're gonna do some die cutting, all right? So I'm gonna set this aside to dry. Fan's going, so hopefully it'll get that done. And I'm gonna pull in my cut and emboss machine, which I absolutely love. So here is my cut and emboss machine. I'm gonna start with the Pear Pizzazz. I've got a Pear Pizzazz sheet right here, and I'm gonna emboss it. This is the Elegant Eucalyptus embossing folders. This set comes with 2 embossing folders. It's got the eucalyptus, and then it's got this little starburst flower that I think is absolutely gorgeous. Today I'm going to use the eucalyptus. So all you do is you put the paper right in here. All right, I want to make sure it's straight, and then close it down like that. Now, this is Amy proof because it has all the information. Now, I know that I'm using the embossing folders. This is a 3D embossing folder, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put plate number 1, my embossing folder, and plate number 4, and I'm gonna hold it like this, And then I'm going to crank it through, just like that. Oh. And then, presto, here is your beautifully embossed image. Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, I love it. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to set my embossing, and I'm going to set this fourth plate away because I don't need that one. Now I'm going to bring in this because I'm going to do some die cutting. And the die cuts I'm going to use, I want to explain this a little bit. These are the deckled rectangles. I always put a picture of them because when I'm flipping through, I want to be able to see them. And when you open it up, here they are. Aren't they? So they don't look like much like this, but they are really, really pretty. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be the outside of my rectangle. So I'm going to look at this, okay? And for this one, I think I wanted to use, yes, this is the size I'm using for this one. So I'm going to go one out for this one. So I'm going to put that one on here. Now, I'm going to put that right here. 1, 2, 3. But this is going to be underneath, all right? And I don't like to waste paper. Especially now, if I was using a colored piece, I'd really, not want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to skip 2, and I'm going to pull this one out. And I'm going to put it right here in the center, because that way I have enough of a border that I can adhere them together. But then I'm going to have this other little piece right here that I can use for a tag or something else later. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this aside. Now I could go ahead and put this over here, but it's not quite dry yet. Let's see if I can get this dry. Let's see. Let me dab it a little bit with my towel. We'll dab it a little bit, get that, and then I can probably go through 2. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and put that on there, and then I'm going to add this rectangle that's one size smaller than this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on there like this, and you can see I have lots of extra around, and that's okay. I don't need those. So I'm going to put that like this. I'll put this over top of it, and I'm going to hold them, run it through. And I want to make sure I kind of go slow because I don't want that to move. You can put some tape over top of it so that it doesn't move for sure. But I'm going to live dangerously today and get that through like that. Oh, let's see. All right, let me move my cut and emboss, which I'm going to be honest was one of my favorite things when I came back to Stampin' Up when I saw they had that, because I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. All right, so that's cut. Oopsie. And then we have this cut. Now I'm just going to be using this one on the card. I'm not using this one on the card. And what I could do, I've got this. I can cut that a straight edge, and I can use that on another card as well. I will save these. I'm not getting rid of anything. I've spent money on this paper. I am using it for everything. And in fact, I may save this because I think that's kind of pretty too. So there we go. I'm going to put those to the side. All right. Now it's time to start assembling this gorgeous card. All right. So I have a piece of Flirty Flamingo that I'm going to go ahead and fold and bone fold. I like to go over it a couple times to get it, make sure it's going to be flat. I don't know. It's just me. Next thing I'm going to add is this beautiful embossed image. I'm going to give it a little extra tape than I probably normally would because it is embossed, and I want to make sure it stays. So I'm gonna add a little bit more than extra, and I'm going to put it on the edge here like this, give myself a little bit of a border on the top and the bottom and on the side. So I've got that. Now I'm going to add this to this, okay? And I'm going to adhere the back. Try to go towards the edge because I don't have anything in the middle, and I'm going to be using it. I'm going to use dimensionals on it, so I don't need to do that. So I'm going to put it like that. So there we go. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to add dimensionals. If you don't have dimensionals in your life, I highly suggest it. I use them all the time. I feel like I buy them almost every time I make an order because I use them, and I just think they add such dimension to your card. Just kidding. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a nerd. All right. And quite honestly, these little things, they're all over my house. I don't know how they get downstairs, outside, everywhere. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on here. Now, if you'd have asked me earlier or 10 years ago, I would never have done anything to the side. I would have done it perfectly straight. But I kind of like this new trend of giving it a little bit of a tilt. So I do like that. All right. The next thing I'm going to do, oh, I got to stamp this. I've got to stamp the sentiment. So I am using Charming Sentiments, which is a wonderful, wonderful set. It has got wonderful, wonderful sentiments, and it has matching dies to go with it. And these aren't just any dies. These, when I say matching, I mean matching. They cut it out exactly like it is. It's written, okay? So let me show you that. Here is wishing you everything wonderful, and here it is die cut. How cool is that? Now I'm not using the die cut today, but I did want to show you. Plus it also has the sun and candles and all goodies. I just think this is a fantastic set. So here we are. I'm using Wishing You the Happiest of Birthdays, mainly because I have no happy birthday cards and I'm always needing them. And this is one of our photopolymer sets. It's the clear. This has been used a ton. I'm not gonna lie, I use it a lot. My stamp club used it. They all wanted to use this color. They absolutely loved it. All right, I can't find my phone map, but that's okay. All right, I've got my memento. It's black as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it. So I'm gonna do this. Let's go the right way. I'm gonna kind of do it in the middle, but a little bit off to this side because I'm gonna punch over on this side. So I wanna have enough room. So I'm gonna put that here. All right. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays. So I'm gonna do that later. Okay. Mess that up a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. All right. Now I want to do, I love this punch. So it goes both ways, obviously. And there's 3 sizes: 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch. And I just think that is so cool because you can do a border. So if I wanted to have a border behind this, I could make it a little bit bigger. So this is 3/4 of an inch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it over and I'm gonna stick it in, because what I want to do is I want to see it from behind and make sure that none of what I've stamped was showing. Because if it did, then I could pull it out just a little bit and stamp there, but it doesn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure it's pretty even and do my punch. That's fun. All right, so there you go. There's my wishing you the happiest birthdays. All right, so then let's zhuzh it up just a little bit more. We're gonna add some ribbon. This is the frayed ribbon, grosgrain ribbon, which I think is really pretty cool. So I'm going to cut it the same way. All right, I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna put it this way like that. Actually, I think I'm gonna cut it just a hair smaller. I think I got it too big. I got a little bit too excited there. All right, there we go. And I'm gonna put it down with the adhesive. Just gonna roll it right on there and stick it right down. No, I think I want it to go, yeah, well, that's what it's gonna go. Okay, like that. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of this pool party ribbon, and I think it really makes it show up when you put it on this white. So I'm gonna do that. All right, and again, I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna roll it right across. All right, here it goes. Okay, there it goes. I didn't want to go there for a second. All right, and I'm gonna put it right like that. Now then I'm gonna add the wishing you the happiest birthdays. I'm not gonna add dimensionals to this. You certainly can, but I feel like with this popped up and this popped up, it might be a little bit too much. Although I don't know if you can really get too many dimensionals. And I want this to kind of be even with that, so I'm gonna put it like that. So happiest of birthdays now. That's great, but I love a little bit of bling, so I'm gonna add some of these. I'm gonna take my take your pick tool, which I love. Now these have 3 different sizes, a small, a medium, and a large. I always try to go small at the top, and I'm gonna add it right there, actually. I think it would be pretty there. And then I'm gonna get another small one, and I'm gonna add him here because I think I need something there. And then I'm gonna add one of these medium ones right here so that we kind of see it on here. And then I'm gonna get this big one and I'm gonna put him right there. Now I've got 4, so really it's best to do it in series of 5 or odd numbers. So since I have 4, I'm gonna add 1 more. And I think I'm gonna do another one of these. I think my stamp club likes this size the most. They seem to have used a lot of those. I want that maybe right there. I think that works. Okay, so there is my finished card. Happy birthday. To really finish it off, I also cut a piece of white to go on the inside, but it has left the building. The white has left the building. He decided to go somewhere else. But I would put a piece of white on the inside so that you can, it really did disappear because I really did cut it 3 times to make sure I had it. But it was right there. So there's my card. Let me flip back around. Hello. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to the end, I really appreciate it. Again, I'm Amy Williams. If you ever need anything or have any questions, stick a comment in there. I promise to respond, or reach out to me through my email, creatingwithamy96@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and hope you have a fantastic week. Make it a great day. Bye.